All right, I think we're live. Just going through and testing a bunch of platforms at once. This is kind of crazy. First time I've done this, and we already got mute. There we go. So we are live streaming right now on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Facebook. First time I've done this, and just going through and testing a bunch of platforms at once. This is kind of where that's coming through. Oh, there's my phone. Yeah, so I'm testing this out. Something that I've wanted to do for a while and something I just was kind of afraid to jump into. This idea of kind of live streaming what I've been working on, kind of my progress and my journey as a 3D artist is something that is exciting. It's scary. It's new to me. Learning all these tools and how to do all this crazy stuff with live streaming is a completely new process. And for me, this is just like a cool opportunity to share where I'm at. Answer any questions if they come in. I think with any luck, I should have an actual chat, and I'll just move this up to the top. I should have a chat that will come in from all those platforms, although I did see already that there was an issue on Twitter. I couldn't comment from another account. I don't know if that's just a bug or something weird with Twitter. But I'll try my best to kind of monitor my Twitter feed and Discord and all those places. But this is definitely going to have some bugs, definitely a work in progress. And the goal here is just to get this started, get my feet wet, so to speak, in terms of how to do these streams, give a full kind of run through of some of the stuff I've been working on and around the idea of 3D world creation. And yeah, just continue to do this moving forward. So the goal really for me is to, primarily share the work that I'm doing. It's been just over a year since I quit my job full time to pursue a career as a 3D artist. It was a very scary step and one that I don't regret, but one that's been kind of a wild journey and a very different experience for me. And probably the most significant thing that's happened or significant thing that I've noticed about, doing art full time is that it's very different than the tech world. In the tech world, I had a schedule, I had meetings, it generally was, knew when I was going to be working, had a task list, and in fact had a team that I would be leading in terms of what they would be doing. And as an artist, as a 3D artist, primarily making and selling my work, I don't answer to anybody. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a timeline. I don't have meetings usually. And it gets really, really interesting as you continue to create and you continue to work when you don't have that structure in place for what you're going to be doing every day. So part of this experience for me was like, hey, let's set a schedule. Let's live stream the work that I'm doing, the projects I'm doing. Gives me great content to share out on social media, to update my collectors and my followers on what I'm doing. But it also gives me just that ability to like focus every day on a specific problem. So all week I've been streaming, believe it or not, at 5 a.m. Eastern time. So 5 a.m. to 9 9 a.m. in the morning for like the first session. And then I've been streaming from 2 p.m. Until 6 p.m. Every day. And then the goal of this particular stream is going to be on Saturdays, probably around the same time. Just update, here's what I've been working on during the week. Here's my progress, answer any questions, and just try to kind of engage, any audience that's interested in this wild kind of, art career that I've taken on. Sorry, I'm just hearing audio from the computer over here. I'm curious what it was. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick check and see if I can just, make sure there's no messages coming in on different platforms. I did a couple tests there. I think it looks like it says, I'm not sure. I'll do another one, but I think that the chat should come back to say the chat is ready to display messages. I'm just looking at YouTube. It's funny because I think each platform is slightly different. So I'm looking over at my YouTube stream right now, and it looks like the chat is cut off at the top. So I think I've got that fixed on YouTube. Twitch looks like it was there. Facebook looks like it's there. And Twitter, I'm just going to bring up over here. And I don't know if that was actually working properly with the chat. So just give me a second. Yeah, so if you do drop into this chat, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or wherever you jump in, just feel free to drop me a note, ask any questions, share anything you want to share. But otherwise, I'm just going to go for it and start to walk through kind of some of the stuff that I've been doing. And yeah, I'm just going to just check in on Twitter, just see if there's an option. Like I don't see any option on Twitter to actually do a chat. I see viewers, I see sound. I don't see anything. So that could, that could be because I'm from my account. But if you're on Twitter and you see a way to actually drop a chat in there for me, it would be appreciated just so I can kind of see how that works on multiple channels. So give me one more second here. So it looks like it's showing up. I don't see any options on Twitter to do the chat. But hey, at least we'll give this a try, and I'll be able to look back at all these videos and see if they work. And we're just going to stream probably for the next 2 hours, regardless of how this goes. And then, hey, I've got a video and something that I can share out later on. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of a little overview from the beginning and kind of walk through, like, how did I get to this point? What am I actually working on? I know there's like a ton of people that have asked me, usually people I've worked with in my previous career or friends, family. It's just like they don't understand what it is that I'm actually doing from an art standpoint. And it is very complicated. It is very difficult to explain. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot and thinking, how can I like better articulate what my process is and what I'm trying to achieve as an artist with what I'm doing. So I'll make an attempt at it today, and I'll have this video to post to share to people if they're curious. So to start this off, I'm going to open up an app called Foundation. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of bring this up here, and I'll just close these other ones for now, and we'll go through it this way. Let me just bring up my stream so I can actually see that this is working. And just for the moment, well, actually, I'll just bring the chat down here. Hopefully it won't get too far in the way. And then if I have to, I'll just, I'll hide it if we go. Okay, so here's kind of how this started for me, right? I've been a photographer and a videographer for probably the last 5 or 6 years. I started doing photography in 2017. Took on some work for tourism boards, different brands, travel across Canada, did a lot of travel and landscape photography. And like most landscape photographers, I captured, 20, 30, 40,000 images of different scenes and places as I traveled. And my journey kind of into this space really started with what I was doing in photography. I was still working full time, and it was during COVID, and I started to sort of think about, like, okay, what am I going to do with my photography and video career? And I had been doing all these different brand contracts and working for different companies. But what happened is when COVID hit, everything got shut down. Travel got shut down. The national parks got shut down. And I really couldn't work as a photographer. So it was at that moment that I kind of said, hey, what can I learn during this COVID time that maybe would take my work or my art to another level? And I'd always been a little bit fascinated with what I could do in 3D software. So like many people had done in the past, I went on YouTube. And when I went on YouTube, I searched for Blender tutorial. And one of the ones that came up, actually, there you go. The very first one that came up is the Blender donut tutorial. And there's 2 versions of this. One is from just around a year ago, and the other one I think is probably from 3 or 4 years ago. And I did the one from 3 or 4 years ago, not saying the new one is not, better or improved. But basically on this video, I actually don't know if I'll get, what do you call it? Like a strike against me if I stream another YouTube channel or any of that stuff. So I'm not going to do it. But basically this tutorial takes you from start to finish on how to model a 3D donut in Blender. And funny enough, I actually found that original file that I did. This is in 2020. And I'm actually going to open it up now and just show you really simply, not going to go into detail here, but I'm going to show you really simply what I was able to accomplish all the way back in 2020. So it's called the Blender Donut. I think this is the final, I think it's going to be this one here, March 25th. That sounds right. Let's try that one. And here it is. So we have a donut, just a grayscale donut for now, and I'll bring it into render mode here in a second. Just want to check the stream every once in a while to make sure, it looks like it actually is working. I think it's going to be okay, but yeah, so this is the donut, and this is 3D software. Real quick overview without going crazy. We've got full control of a camera. We can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can look at this donut from any angle. And if you actually see in the scene, there's a camera over here on the side, and that camera has all sorts of settings just on the right side here, like the focal length, it's 50 millimeters. It's got depth of field, just like a regular camera. You can actually set an f-stop, and you can see how many blades there are in the actual lens. You can set up vignetting. You can change the shutter speed. You can do anything. It's just like an absolute regular camera, which for me, coming from the world of videography and photo, was supernatural. It was like, hey, I can do this. Like, I get it. I can, compose these things. It was really cool. And then the other thing this has is lighting. So in this case, it just has this very simple light sitting up here in the corner. And again, with photography, it's like, hey, I know where lighting can go. This is a simple tutorial. We didn't even really light this properly, but like I understand 3-point lighting, I understand different lighting concepts, understand, how to sort of light a scene. And it's like, okay, like I can light the scene in 3D software. So we went through the tutorial with the donut, learned a ton of different techniques, like learned how to navigate around Blender, which is, something that was really difficult when I first started. Switching between the camera modes, switching between, focusing on different objects like the light up here, the camera down here, just basically everything to do with using Blender, you learn in this tutorial. And the end result, if I flip over here to rendered view, is this. This is my donut. So this is all the way back from 2020, my first, experience using Blender. And I can't quite explain to you that feeling that I had when this finally looked like this. Like, obviously, for a professional 3D artist, you look at this and say, oh, there's all these issues, all these little things I would change. Like, I would go back and change a lot now. But within like a week, to be able to create something like this was kind of mind-blowing to me. And it just gave me like that light bulb moment of, holy crap, like I could create stuff like this, like from scratch. This is not, a photo. I didn't go get a box of donuts and set it up and light it and, try not to eat all the donuts and like take a photo. I just like made this, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit. And I got pretty obsessed. I gotta admit, like, I mean, we're here now, so it kind of makes sense, but I got obsessed, like the fact that I could go in here and, just move the icing, the fact that I could go into the camera and say, hey, let's see what this thing looks like if you go to a 16 millimeter camera, and let's see what this looks like if you zoom in, and let's see what it looks like if you bring the orientation down, or the composition down, the angle down, and show this from, this angle. What would happen if I wanted, all these sprinkles, instead of being, this total random color, which right now it's set up with particles. So if I go to sprinkles and I look at these sprinkles, I've got this like cool rainbow. But, what would happen if I just said, hey, I want all the donut sprinkles to be green? And I could go in and I could just delete some of these and delete this one, and could delete this one, and I mean, I actually could just do it like this, get rid of this one, and just change it. And now look, there's all the sprinkles are purple, all the sprinkles are green, all the sprinkles are whatever color you want. And it really did make me think, like, this is actually something that I would want to put a lot of work into. So this is how my journey started with this donut tutorial in Blender. So if you get anything out of this, if you're watching and you're thinking about, hey, maybe one day, one day I'll actually want to learn 3D, maybe this is something you're interested in. I can't tell you enough that just do this donut, do the original donut tutorial, on YouTube. I think that one is probably the best to start off. I'm just flipping through, some of the channels here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, do that tutorial. And, at the worst case, you've got a cool 3D rendered donut. You can take a render of it. You can print out the photo, put it in your room. You can put it as your wallpaper. But it will really open your eyes to what's possible in 3D software. So fast forward, during COVID, I start to get into this world of NFTs. And I had a friend at the time. She was a really, really famous, well-known photographer. And she started to explore this kind of world of NFTs. And I was like, what is this? And kind of learning about it together. And I started to realize that there was like an opportunity when I did promo videos for her and her launches. I worked on a website, did different promo videos, and she launched some of her photography. For her, it was on a website called Super Rare, but she put them out as NFTs, and she actually sold them. And it was kind of like a moment. Hey, like here's an artist, a photographer who had work doing workshops for clients, had work doing tutorial videos, like releasing actual tutorials, had maybe sold a few prints here and there, but done some brand work. But for the most part, like that revenue's coming in from having to do things for other people. As an artist, you're going, hey, how crazy is it to possibly have an opportunity where you could actually make a real living just purely creating the art that you want? And that's kind of what happened for her, right? She actually made this art, these photos that she took, she sold them, and now all of a sudden there's money in the bank account, and it's like, I can keep doing this. So she encouraged me to actually mint and sell some of my photography, and I did on this app called Foundation. And if you look at my history, you can scroll all the way back to this moment right here, which was in June 6th, 2021, 1:04 a.m. I guess that's Eastern time. This person right here, NorCal guy, who's now become a really good friend, placed a bid for 3 Ethereum on this photo. And 3 Ethereum at the time, I want to say was worth, it might have been close to $10,000. I have to go see. You can actually go, well, here for fun, I'll show a little blockchain stuff. So look, 826 days ago, yeah, he placed this for 3 ETH, and ETH value at the time was $4,900. I think that's in Canadian. Actually, I don't know if that's in the value. Oh, that was the day of the transaction. Okay, so there you go. So current value today, $4,900. At the time, $7,800. It goes to show you how much Ethereum's dropped since this started. But like $8,000 for a photo I took was wild, and it's crazy and exciting. And this photo was something I took in my hometown in Canmore. It's of the Three Sisters in the Bow River. It was like featured on Reddit on the front page. The post got stolen by someone else. I reposted it. It hit the front page. It had, I think, like 2 million or some crazy number of views on Imager. Really cool photo. It actually is on a hat for a company called Mountain Life Apparel, based out of Alberta, which do like an amazing clothing line. And they put this actual photo on a hat, which I could probably bring up and find. But hey, NorCal guy buys this photo, and it's like, this is wild. What an experience. So over the next little while, I essentially decided that I wanted to sell my photography, but I wanted to be very selective. I didn't want to go sell everything that I had created. I wanted to really get the best of my photography because I wanted it to represent like a moment in time as myself as an artist. Like from 2017 to 2020 when COVID hit, that was really my heyday as a photographer, and I wanted it to represent that moment. And I wanted to mint and sell my absolute best work. So the end result was I ended up minting a total of 12 photos. This one, Totality, which was based in Wyoming, of the eclipse. Inversion, based in Banff. House on the Water, based in Banff. Eyes on Earth, I'll come back to. Red Canoes, based in Banff. Nature's Frame, Banff. Chase the Light, Floating on Glass, this is Iceland. Roadside Attraction, Green Mile, and First Exposure. That's 11. I'll show you the 12th in a second, but that was 11 of the 12 of the first photos that I minted, and the only photos that I ever minted from a landscape side. I later minted this photo called Wapiti, which is a wildlife photo that I took that had a very specific meaning to me. It's happened on a cross Canada road trip at a campsite in Jasper, and it's the print of this was sitting above my condo back in Canmore. And when I left, I wanted to sell the print, so I sold it together with an NFT. So these were the first 11. I put together an amazing group of collectors. I won't list them all on the stream, but actually I will. Kryptonish, this was Metapurse Fund and Metacoven. This was D's. This was Anchor Drops. This was Frankie DeTanky. This was Art Pleb. This was Kazomo Di Medici. This was this one was Malamo Matt, and this one was not First Collector, Free Run Traveler. Frankie DeTanky came back and bought another one. So there's my first 11 that I minted and sold, and an amazing group of collectors. And then the 12th one is actually on a website called OpenSea. And if I go over here, these were 101s, by the way. So if you're new to NFTs and new to Web3, these collectors were buying what I was essentially promising is the only digital, verified, authentic version of this photo available for sale anywhere. So they are essentially taking my word, but through the blockchain, things are verifiable, but also, the artist's reputation's on the line, that I didn't say, hey, this is, the only one in existence, but I have like copies of 100 of them in the back that I'm selling as well. So you're making a promise to the collector, and in return, the collector is agreeing to purchase that NFT. So those were all one of ones. And then this closing chapter was the last of the 12 images, and it was sold as an edition. So there were a total of 120 of these editions. They sold for a price at the time of 0.088 ETH, something like that, which was probably about $130 at the time, if I get it right. And these have been very successful. They started to sell for upwards of 1 ETH at kind of the peak of the market, but these are now owned by 69 people for the culture. But this was my 12th of the photos that I actually minted and sold. And that wrapped up my career, my idea of an artist doing specifically photography. And doesn't mean I don't do photography now. I do, and you'll see in a second. I'm shooting all the time. Doesn't mean I won't change my mind and decide to mint something later. But if I do it, I'll reach out to those collectors and I'll sort of get their blessing to say, hey, you bought something that, maybe at the time you didn't know, but at some point I told you that this is a limited, one of a small number of photos that I'll ever mint. And if I want to mint more, we'll kind of shake hands virtually and say, hey, this is the right thing to do. Let's continue on and mint more photos. But for now, we're done. We're retired. Okay. So moving along, at the time I had been working for a forestry company in Alberta. Awesome job, worked remotely, got a chance to kind of travel while I worked. Really cool company. And I learned a lot about GIS systems and sort of working with actual real world data. In the forestry industry, we use sensors like radar, which comes from satellites. We use LiDAR, which is little lasers that can shoot out and tell the elevation of trees or landscapes from fixed-wing airplanes or even drones. We used a lot of data that was geospatial, so it had an actual location on Earth, right? Like it had a latitude, a longitude, an area, a distance. And I got really comfortable with that data. I wasn't an expert at it, but I got pretty good. And then I was recruited, probably just about 2 years ago. 2 years ago now, I was recruited by a space company, and the space company, based here in Canada, wanted to hire me to run product management for the team. And part of that process was I was trying to understand how the satellites that orbit our Earth actually, what they do, how it works, how do the orbits work. I didn't understand any of it. And I started to do my research, and I started to learn why certain satellites orbit the Earth in different directions. I started to learn how many satellites there were. I started to learn what each satellite did. I'm peeking over at the stream to see. It looks like it's solid, at least on YouTube. Just flipping over to a few of the other ones here, just so I don't miss this. Just bear with me. And I'll explain this here with, I think this is going, yeah, I think it's still running. Okay. Twitter looks good. Twitch looks good. YouTube, I mean, if I pull this off in terms of this actually going through all of them, that would be pretty cool. Okay. So yeah, I started learning this. And as part of the process, I started looking into how I could maybe visualize how these satellites actually orbit our Earth, like orbit our planet. And along the way, I discovered that NASA, as well as NORAD and some other services, actually offered a data file that would tell you the exact orbit of a satellite orbiting Earth. And through a bunch of trial and error and, open source, open source GitHub and YouTube videos and just generally pulling this together, I was able to actually bring the orbit data for all the satellites into Blender, the tool that I just showed that, was doing donuts. I was able to bring that into Blender and actually simulate the orbits of real world satellites. And as I kind of was working on it, was just kind of a how-to, or it was just a learning process. I started realizing that like when I started applying colors to them, and I was like, this is kind of like trippy and cool, and it felt like something that maybe someone would want from an art standpoint. So I started converting it to an art project, and I started working on the style and the glow and the camera movement, and again, learning all this stuff on the fly. And also the hardest part of this project by far was simulating how the shadow actually goes across the Earth's surfaces. So switching between the sky with the, you could see it moving with the lights to the actual clouds in the day was mind-bogglingly difficult. There's like threads of people trying to help me and other people trying to figure it out. At the time, I had never found anything that did this properly. You can still see these like little accordion things at the bottom. I still will never forget an artist I look up to a lot. I won't mention his name right now, but he had kind of messaged me after, and he was like, congratulations on this because it sold. And he made a comment about, how to fix this problem. And I was so embarrassed because it's an NFT. It's out there, but it kind of shows you my progress, just this, little weird texture at the bottom. But anyway, to quickly sum this up, this is a 24-hour simulation of real satellites that are orbiting Earth. Right now, today, I'm sure there's been more launched, but this is a pretty accurate representation. And what's really, really cool about this is if you look at these green satellites, these satellites are mostly communication satellites. So these are things like, your television, satellite radio, military, any type of communication devices are these green. And you'll notice something kind of unique about them. It's a little bit hard to tell, but watch the orbit of the Earth and watch the orbit of the satellites. They're basically orbiting at the exact same speed. And what this is something called geosynchronous orbit. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but I think it's 35,000 kilometers, somewhere in there. It might be 42, somewhere in that range. And at that exact distance from Earth, these satellites actually orbit at the same speed that the Earth rotates. And what you get is if you're on Earth, if you're here in Africa and you're, in Kenya and you're looking out in the sky, these satellites don't move. They literally are sitting in this, in the, the stars are going by, the moon is these satellites are not moving. They're static. And that's the reason why you can point your DirecTV dish out at the sky at a single location and it works. It's because these satellites are actually not moving. They're out there. You can see some of them way out in this orbit are going up and down. They're doing this for different reasons, but generally speaking, all these are geosynchronous. And if you look really closely out here, you'll see every once in a while there's going to be an orange one. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, purple one right there. There's one right here. There's one right there. The purple ones. And what these ones are actually, actually, I don't think they're purple. Yeah, these ones are purple. These ones are actually imaging satellites. So a lot of times these are taking, static images of Earth from very, very far away and different sensors and different things, but there are very few of those. The next ones that matter are these purple ones that are doing this crazy figure eight dance. So they're kind of doing this weird loop. And that's your GPS. So they are in a perfect orbit where there's always, I think, 3 of them visible at, the entire sky at any given time. And you can triangulate, so you can send a signal to all 3 of them and actually locate where you are on the map. It might be 2. I can't remember if it's U plus 2 satellites or U plus 3. I think it's U plus 2, like a Pythagorean theorem back from high school. But these can basically tell you where you are. It might be 3. These can tell you where you are on Earth, and it's what, like, put your Google Maps or Google Earth, and show you where you're sitting, and that's what those geosynchronous or these GPS satellites that are orbiting. And then going in further, these crazy kind of light blue ones that are going super fast in orbit are Starlink. So they're the lowest orbit satellites that we have, and they're providing internet. I have Starlink in my RV. I use Starlink. I'll stream from Starlink sometime in the future. But these are actually providing internet coverage to the world, which is wild to think about. Just doing a quick stream check, make sure audio and everything looks okay. I think we're all right. We're either going to have a recording or not. We'll see. The yellow one going around is the International Space Station. So that's bigger than the rest, but it's going around the Earth, and that's the ISS. You can see some red ones, and you notice that the red ones in particular are doing, it's called a polar orbit. They're basically going around the Earth from north to south. And the reason that they're doing that is, if you can imagine, the Earth is rotating as they're going north to south, which means at any given point, these satellites are actually able to capture a photo of any point on Earth, because as the Earth rotates, the satellites are going around north to south, they're actually over time covering, usually 100%, not quite 100%, but some high percentage of the Earth's surface. And these are actual images that are used for things like Google Earth. They're used for satellite images you see on Google Maps. Any satellite photo that you see taken from space is typically taken with these satellites that are going north to south in polar orbit. Pretty crazy. Some of the ones out here are also weather satellites, so they're actually taking images of, like, when you see a hurricane, and they have like an actual image from space of the hurricane. Those are the satellites that are out there in geosynchronous orbit. They've got them in all different locations so they can capture kind of that, like, distance views of weather satellites. So this was Eyes on Earth. This was my first ever 3D animation that I minted. I minted it on, October 10th, 2021. So 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago from now. And I did a 24-hour Twitter space, had some amazing friends join. I kind of talked about the piece and, just tried to kind of explain what it was. And this person right here, 6529, who has turned out to be one of the biggest collectors in NFTs, one of the biggest ambassadors for NFTs and crypto, someone who has supported me in my career for the last 2 years, came in and bid 6 Ethereum on this piece, which was a lot of money at the time. It's still a lot of money, but it was a huge deal for me. And it gave me validation that I could actually create 3D art and sell it, which was a big deal because I was new to it. I was comfortable with my photography, but to be able to, sell something that I made in 3D was a pretty massive deal. So fast forward, after that, I put my head down and I said, I'm going to come up with a way to incorporate everything I've done in photography and video into 3D. And I've always been someone who loves technology. I've always been someone who loves to experiment, loves to try out new ideas. And I started to think about how I could bring, like, this whole world together. I should look at the camera more while I'm talking. I'm not doing anything on screen, but I started thinking about, like, how can I pull all these worlds together? I want to travel. I love doing photography while I travel. I love the kind of feeling of landscape photography, of going to a location. It's like you're out there hunting for a particular composition, particular weather. It's a really good feeling to get out in nature. But I also love the 3D stuff. I love sitting in front of the computer and solving a technical problem and making something really that I'm proud of. And I was like, how can I bring it together? And the conclusion I came to was, what if I could recreate actual real landscapes, like actual real world locations, but instead of doing them as photos or video, what if I could actually make them as 3D renders? And that's what started the next part of my career, kind of a phase two, I guess, of my artist career, and where things kind of really started getting interesting for me was when I said, hey, I want to actually turn a photo into a piece of 3D art. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, and I don't want to kind of get too detailed here, and I'm certainly not going to, go through examples of other artists because, there's nothing wrong with this way, and there's nothing nothing negative to say. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. You can take a reference photo, right? I have photos of a particular location in the world that I've already shot. I could take a photo like this, and I could sit down in Photoshop, Procreate, with a paintbrush, with a pencil, with whatever, and people have done this, and I could recreate this piece of art as a non-photo, right? So as whatever genre you want to pick. And you can make it look as realistic or unrealistic you want. You can do it in your own style. There's 100 ways to recreate a photograph as a piece of art in a different medium or a different genre. And in 3D, you can do this similar. You can model, this canoe in 3D. You can kind of model this, but really what you could do is you could take a lot of shortcuts, because if you've ever seen a movie, when you go and watch a movie of a Western, they don't necessarily recreate the entire city, right? Or the entire town. They just recreate the set, the part of the scene that they want to show on camera. And behind the camera, it's a disaster. To the right of the camera, it's a disaster. To the left, it's a disaster, but the shot is good. And that's certainly valid. It makes a ton of sense. But for me, I kept thinking like, well, what happens after that? Like, I make this 3D art. People are like, cool, this looks like a photo, but like there's nowhere to go from there. You're just creating this art and you're not actually progressing it any further than that if I get to the point where I want to do something new and different. So I'd always had in the back of my head this idea that, well, there's a few things that happen, but I had in the back of the head this idea that, we are privileged as, a lot of different reasons. For me to be able to afford to travel to these beautiful places, to have a job that lets me travel to these places, to have camera equipment, to be able to go there, be physically able to go there, for this place to be open and available for the public, or to be from a country where I have a passport that I can travel. There's like a half a dozen different reasons why it's a privilege to be able to travel to Moraine Lake, or Lake Louise, sorry, in this situation, and actually capture this photo of these canoes. And the truth is, like, it's changing, right? If this photo here is Lake Louise, you can't drive there anymore. You've got to take a shuttle bus. And this one here in Moraine Lake, sorry, that's Lake Louise again. This Moraine Lake one here, this is impossible now. This is an 11-kilometer hike or 11-kilometer bike ride, or you've got to take a shuttle bus. You can't go there during sunrise, sunset unless you hire a private tour guide. There's limited capacity. It's already hard enough to travel to Canada. COVID hits. There's 100 reasons why it's very difficult to actually go and experience this location. And there is no guarantee that this location will stay the way it is. There could be a forest fire. There could be an avalanche. There could be issues that prevent people from getting there. There's 100 reasons why this may not be the way it is today. And this is like a very short period of time, right? We have no idea what this will look like in 10 years and 20 years. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's impossible or very difficult for a lot of people to visit this. So a photograph captures, right, this like moment in time, this experience that I had. I remember this. I remember where I was. I remember why I was there. I remember my camera settings. I remember where I was sitting. I remember everything about this photo, and I'm trying to portray to you, the audience, what that feeling was. And if you get it, if you feel a little piece of me and what I'm creating, maybe you buy it. Maybe you just make it your wallpaper. Maybe you share it with a friend. Maybe you post it on Instagram. Maybe you buy a print. You're appreciating my view, but you're not really experiencing it, right? You're not getting a chance to really go to Moraine Lake by looking at a photo of mine. If I did a video, maybe you'd be a little bit better. Okay, I kind of get it. Oh, you can turn the camera to the right and the left. Oh yeah, there's 1,000 people behind me. It's actually not that great. Oh, look at the light changes. I have time lapses of this, so you would see, oh, the light, goes across the sky, and the shadows change. Fog comes in and out, but you still don't experience it. And I started thinking, like, what is the next evolution of that? How can we bring people who can't experience these amazing places to these locations in the highest fidelity, most interactive, most immersive way possible? And of course, the light bulb starts to go off of like virtual reality. It's coming up technology wise. I actually was working at Canon and developed with an amazing team a VR camera simulator, which was meant to be like kind of a precursor to my work. That you put on a VR headset and travel to a random location. It wasn't real world at the time, and take out a virtual camera and change the aperture and the shutter speed and the ISO and frame a photo and take it, and then digitally download it and send it to your friend as a postcard. Maybe learn photography from somebody inside the VR game. So I was thinking about this for almost like probably a half decade of how this might look. And I realized that there was an opportunity here with the skill set that I was learning in 3D and my understanding of photography and understanding of satellite imagery, remote sensing, GIS, like all those little things attached together might make me the type of person or person capable of actually bringing people to these locations in an immersive 3D virtual environment. Okay, so speech is continuing. The reason I'm just rambling on like this is because these streams are new, and I've looked up streaming, and everyone has told me that with streams you got to get used to just streaming to nobody, and that's probably the case. I can't really see all the stats, but I don't see anything popping in the chat, so I'm just going to assume. I guess I'm just going to assume that. Well, maybe there's a few people watching, but just that I'm not getting questions or anything. So I'm just going to go and I'll rant. I can talk for 2 hours like this if I have to. Okay, so apologize. I'm only streaming like 3/4 of my screen. So if I forget to move these screens into the center, please forgive me, but I'll get better at it. This is the photo that we're talking about with Moraine Lake. Okay, so fast forward here. I've already now sold, some NFTs as 3D. I've already done the photography, and now my head goes down and I start looking into how can I start to recreate real world environments in 3D. And crazy journey for me. There are certainly people that are doing this. There are lots of different components of this that I found tutorial videos on. But what I didn't find is someone who is like end-to-end focused on getting real-world data from remote sensing, downloading that data, converting it into a 3D scene, replicating that scene in 3D software, texturing it, coloring it, lighting it, setting up a composition, and getting a render. I just wasn't finding anyone doing that. And it was a cool opportunity and something I wanted to learn, so I put my head down and I went for it. Okay, so the journey to get here on this is going to be difficult to articulate, but I'm going to try my best to sort of highlight some of the challenges and some of the interesting aspects of doing this. And the first scene that I ever wanted to create, or the first scene I decided to create, was from this place called Hasetta Head on the Oregon coast, USA. And I did it because, one, I was traveling down the coast and I saw this lighthouse and I thought, man, this would be such a cool 3D render. It's got some buildings in it. It's got the ocean. It's got beaches. It's got trees and a little bit of mountains. And it felt like, it felt like a new, like, I don't like to try to explain too much like the meaning behind art because it's personal to people. And, that's part of the fun is collectors and people understanding and appreciating or figuring out like where the meaning comes from. But I'll say this with Hasetta, like, if you think of like people coming from, we say Europe to America, or immigrating to a new country, in the old days, that was by boat, and now it's flying. But if you look at that historically, the lighthouse would be the first thing you saw when you reached the other shore. And I felt like that was symbolic of like a new beginning, a new chapter. I called my previous photography my 12th landscape closing chapter. This was a new chapter. And I just looked at that lighthouse and said that represents to me like getting my feet on solid ground in a new place and actually starting on a new journey. So I'll show you a few things, hopefully that will help explain what I did. And I'll walk through this a little bit. So here's some of the reference photos that I had in my head for what this place looked like. And you can kind of see here. I'll keep this in the center. Hopefully, I'll try to remember to keep these centered. But basically, you can see this one. And I'll just bring this full screen. Yeah, bring this full screen. And you can get a feel. So this is Heceta Head. Funny story, is actually spelled Heceta. I spelled it Haceta because at the time I thought it'd be cool to kind of like change something about the name, make it a little different, being like a metaverse or a virtual recreation of these scenes. So I did that. I kind of regret it. I wish I had just named it properly, but it's Heceta. But the files are going to be called Haceta. Okay. So like this is an aerial view of the area, the Oregon coast. You can see the ocean and like the waves and everything. This is the actual lighthouse here. So the lighthouse with a bunch of buildings, a couple little islands, a bigger building over here, trees in the background. Here's another view of some of the lookouts along the Oregon coast to get you kind of an idea of what it looks like. This was one of the big reference photos that I had, which was a view kind of behind the lighthouse, looking out down the Oregon coast with some trees in it, with the background image, some clouds, and then, the buildings here. Here's like an aerial view just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. And I may even have some other photos that would probably really highlight what this place looks like. I don't think I have anything that's popping up here. Let me just take a peek through. Yeah, nothing I don't think is jumping out. But this was like, hey, okay, this is cool. I got some references, but I wanted to go to it in person. So I actually went to the Oregon coast, and I actually physically went there. I actually took a ton of photos. I did some 3D scanning. I actually took sound files. I really just like immersed myself in that place for a couple days to really truly understand, a little spoiler alert there, what this place actually, looked like, what it felt like. I really tried to kind of immerse myself in this place. And after I got all the data, let me see if I can find some more. I will come back to them. After I kind of got all the data, I started to compile this all together essentially in 3D, well, not in 3D software, first in GIS software. So when you're trying to create a 3D landscape, kind of the primary method that you can use to do it is something called a height map. And if you're a GIS person or you're in that world, like you're like, I get it. Like I didn't get it. It took me a while to understand this. And once I did, it kind of blew my mind what you could do. So here is an example of a height map. And this is a PNG file, but you can get these files in much higher fidelity file formats. But really what this is it's a map of the height of the terrain. The whiter or brighter the pixels are on this map, the higher the terrain is in elevation. The lower, the blacker the pixels are, the darker the pixels are, the lower they are in elevation. So you can imagine, if you kind of picture this thing, this over here is the ocean, which is obviously an elevation of 0 above sea level. But relative elevation, there's nothing lower than the ocean in terms of this, because these things don't usually incorporate like the seabed or what's under the water. So it's just consider it all 0. Over here is actually where the scene cuts off. So this is a file that was actually made from data from the U.S. Coast Guard no, U.S. Geological Survey via the U.S. Coast Guard, where they flew airplanes along the U.S. coast and they took LiDAR scans. So literally lasers on the side of the airplane, shooting beams at the ground, measuring how long those lasers take to come back. And from how long they take to come back, you run the math and you go, well, that's the elevation of that point. Bring it all in a bunch of software, run it through a bunch of algorithms, and out comes this file that essentially represents the height of the terrain. And what's crazy about this file is that 3D software loves these files because it can simply take a flat plane, like think of like a piece of paper, or, you know, even think of like a better way to think of it is when you went as a kid to, you know, a carnival or museum, nail laying museum, you know what, you know what I'm talking about? Like these things, okay? Bed of nails. Yeah, bed of nails. So do you remember these things when you went to the carnival and you'd lay on a bed of nails and you just like, it wouldn't actually hurt you? Well, I always picture it like this because every one of those nails is a single point. And I think that there was these toys, I can't remember what they were called, but you could like push the bottom of them. And when you push the bottom of them, like you would see, like, remember your handprint? I want to see if I can find this now. Yeah, it'll get crazy with the, you know, Google searches. God knows what'll come up. But I think you can picture what I'm talking about, right? You push your hand out from underneath, and all of a sudden there's this like 3D print of your hand coming up above the surface because every one of those nails or every one of those little spikes is being displaced by however much you're pushing it up with your hand. So when the little spike is between your fingers, it doesn't move, but when it touches your fingers, it does. 3D software works the same way. It actually can displace an object based on that map. So based on that actual height map. And once I kind of got that in my head, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. I could make, you know, people that do 3D and do this stuff for a living and have done this their whole life are like, you're an idiot. How do you not know? I didn't know this. I'm learning this as I go. But this aha moment of like, hey, if I have the data, I can displace the terrain, and now I've got a pretty accurate representation of what the terrain looks like. Technical difficulty is like finding the data, normalizing it, combining data together. It's like, how do you fill this gap in? And luckily I had some friends in that field that helped me understand it. And I was able to sort of get and source data from different places, bring it into software called QGIS, which is, you know, super nerdy GIS people software, and output a file that I could bring into Blender. I'm going to show you this right now because I think it's such a critical piece of what I'm doing, and I really want to share it. So I'm going to show you how simple this is. If I add a plane in Blender, right, scale it up just so it's, you know, reasonably big for the camera. There's the camera. There's our light. If I go into that and I subdivide this mesh, I'm just going to subdivide it by 100, right? So now what this is think of the bed of nails. There's, you know, 100, I think, by 100. Remember if it's 100, no, it's not 100 total, but it's like 100 by 100 individual points on this. Now I'm actually going to bring out statistics here. Yeah, so total of 10,000 vertices that are on this screen, on this mesh right now. And I can go in and I can add this thing called a subdivision surface modifier, and I actually can double it or even triple it to make it even more dense so that when we do this displacement, it's going to look even better. And all you've got to do to actually see this work is you've just got to go in and add a modifier, call it displace, go in and create a new file, go into the texture, open up the texture that I was just looking at in the screen on the stream. Actually, let's do this because I know I'm only streaming half of this. So my first mistake. Okay, let me go that. So all I was doing there was I just went in, did the displacement, added a modifier in Blender, went through and right here, added a subdivision, added displace, and I'm opening up the texture. I'm not going to do this, not a technical stream. I'm not going to go through all the details, but this one in particular, I just want to show because I think it's a really critical, like eye-opening experience for me in my journey kind of as an artist. So I'm going to go into Haseta. I'm going to go into probably working QGIS exports, and I'm going to look for one of these. I just don't know which one will be. Let's use one of these. I think probably, I'm going to go into Haseta. I'm going to go into working QGIS exports, and I'm going to look for one of these. I just don't know which one will be. Let's use one of these. I think probably, I'm going to go into Haseta. I'm going to go into working QGIS exports, and I'm going to look for one of these. I think probably Maybe this one will do the trick. I don't know if I'll get this right. Okay, I'm going to go back into the settings. I'm just going to change this to, let me see, UV. And I'm going to just bring the strength down. This may or may not be the right file to work. Okay, I think this will do the trick. And there we go. Not perfect, but take a look at what happened here. So if we zoom all the way in, yeah, this is a massive file, that's why. But if we zoom all the way in and we look here, and we maybe change this to 0.1. If we look here on the Oregon coast, we can actually see the coastline. There is, if you remember from that reference photo that I had over here, output, behind the scenes, actually, a source, reference. If you remember from this photo right here, you can see there was where the lighthouse was. That's where the lighthouse is right here. And if you look at the map and the terrain that I had, you can actually see this same scene. Low resolution, but you can see it. There's the mountain there. It goes up here. You can see the coastline. It's all there. This is a very low resolution file. I was able to get much higher resolution files, which I can show you in a second. But basically, this is what we're looking at. You know, we're able to start to bring something like this in. And if you bring a camera down here and set it to the right thing, you can kind of imagine a bit of a coastline. So that was the big eye-opening experience for me. And I'll show you now where I was able to get to with this particular render. And then we'll show you a few other things and kind of keep this thing moving. But if we went into Haseta and we go into working Blender and we open up the latest file, which is this one, it's going to be, I just checked it before the stream. The actual render is, there's textures missing, so I can't actually show you the final render in here, but I can show you the layout of the scene so you can get an idea. Okay. So this was the very first 3D render I did. I will admit this took me a long time to do, but it was something that I had to kind of go through to learn how to do this and learn the right way to do this. Maybe not the right way technically, because I'm sure there's a lot of like rules I broke and things I did wrong. But what I mean by the right way is that I wanted to recreate an entire 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer scene. And I wanted to do that because I knew that at some point I would want to bring people into this world in 3D software or in virtual reality or in some, you know, interactive, immersive tool. And if I did the shortcut, if I, you know, just made it something that looked like a mountain here and a mountain in the background, and I placed it in the camera to make it look like the location, but not an actual full-scale replica, I knew that I wouldn't be able to continue with this file and convert this scene into 3D. So you'll see here that there are some things that I didn't add detail to, like I didn't put trees and bushes in this part of the scene, but that's because, you know, the software that I'll use to bring this into a more interactive won't use the same assets. But the main thing was that I kind of recreated this landscape. And you can kind of see it here. If I zoom over here and you take a peek from a top-down view, ignore this little line. It's just the way that these trees come in. But look at this. This is basically the 2 kilometer circular replica of that location on the Oregon coast. And this is the actual final composition that I went for. We've got trees, which are just image files that are, you know, sort of strung along the terrain. We've got a coastline. These are waves. These are actual fog volumes that are actually projecting fog onto the landscape. We've got full lighthouse recreation. So I modeled this lighthouse myself in Blender using reference images of the actual real lighthouse with the elevation or the height and the width and, you know, everything about it. I modeled the 2 other buildings. I modeled this building. My stream. I put the park bench in. I modeled the ground, which is grass and gravel. These trees were here. I basically modeled the parts of the scene that were critical. I even modeled this entire bridge, which is a famous bridge in Oregon that spans this part of the scene in the background. And as a tribute to my father, who watched me kind of working on this and, was kind of interested in understanding what I did, I put this little scene in here. And my father had an accident 2 years ago. He had a cardiac arrest on a golf course, and he's been unable to do the things that he used to do in his life. And one of the things he loved to do was ride his bike. And I happened to, after he had the cardiac arrest, I happened to go through his GoPro footage of his last bike ride, and there was this funny moment where a bike passed him too closely on the side of the road, and he, gave the car the middle finger. And I would laugh at that video, but I added this in as like a little tribute to him, so you can see the cars passing him, and this is Frank the Tank, my father, on his bike, and he's giving the middle finger to the guy in the car in the scene. And what's kind of cool about this is, I mean, you can't see it. I mean, if you zoomed in here, way into the scene, and you look in the final render, this is all that is. But it was important to me, and it was to highlight that, you can look at the lighthouse from here, and you can look at the lighthouse from on the other side of this. You can look at the lighthouse from over here, right down the coast. Ignore this stuff up here. It was off camera, but this was my first attempt. And by the way, this is the ocean, this part here. And I'm not going to bring it into a render here because of the texture issue, but I'll show you the final result. And the final result is right here. And this is my first ever 3D rendered landscape with the bushes, the trees, the ocean, the waves, the background. And if you look over here in the corner, you can see the little guy and the car giving the middle finger in the back of the scene. So this was a big moment for me in kind of perfect form. My original collector, NorCal guy, who's kind of believed in me from the beginning, won the auction for this 12 months ago. Kind of a crazy moment for me. This one, I don't know why there's no history here, but this one had quite a few bids from different collectors, and kind of turned into a bidding war, and ultimately went for 9 ETH, which was a huge jump for me, and just a massive win. And the belief in me and recreating this landscape was huge, but it validated again for me. And this is, not to get too philosophical here, but like, as an artist, it's tough, right? You create something you love and no one sees it, they don't appreciate it. Everyone struggled with that. I always think of, the artists at the fair, your local town, who's sitting there with their photography or their art, and they're waiting for someone to come by and ask them how they made it, or ask them, about it, or maybe purchase one. But oftentimes, like, you walk by them and they're by themselves. They're just sitting there and waiting. And as an artist, to have someone who is a collector believe in you enough to bid on or buy a piece that you made, especially one that was experimental, it kind of gives you that, like, fuel, like, keep going, keep creating. And this is a lot of money, and not many people can afford to collect art in this way. But for those that do, this is like an honest message. For people like me, and for a lot of people I think I can speak for, you gave us the motivation to continue to do what we love. And, it not is always practical, for people to be able to bid on your work and support you in that way. But when you do, it means a lot. So this is a really monumental, moment in my career when this piece got collected. And NorCal guy and everyone else that bid on this piece, like, thank you. This one was a big one. It then set me, though, down two paths. Okay, so now you remember, hey, I've got this cool style. It's somewhat unique. No one else is really doing it. Hey, it's got like a specific vibe. I'm pumped. I want to go do another one. I want to make more. But I also kind of had this commitment in the back of my mind, which was like, this is just the beginning of this piece, right? I could have went and took a photo here. I could took a video here, which I did. Never minted them. but you're now getting a 3D representation of this. It's, you know, as close as I can get to a photograph with my skill set, but you're getting the scene. My commitment to my collectors in my mind was like, if you spend that much money on a piece of art of mine, like, we co-own this location together now. You know, the Hoseta Head Lighthouse area, Oregon coast, everything you see in this scene, you know, 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer, is like NorCal guy and me. We're shaking hands and we're saying, this is, as long as you own this NFT, you own it. And this is not like, you know, there's no contract here. There's no, you know, guaranteed promise. It's just my word saying, I'm not going to turn around and make another piece of art and sell it to a different collector from the same location. Not because that's wrong. You know, as a photographer, you could take 10 photos from the same place and sell them all. There's no issue with that. But for me, it felt like I wanted a collector to have the same feeling about a location that I did. And the way that I wanted to do that was by one day potentially bringing them there and showing them the location, immersing them in that world and understanding and learning the landscape and where everything is, and ultimately being a part of my journey as an artist as it relates to this location. So I felt like this created a new path for me, a split in the road where on one side I will continue to go out and find new locations, create new 3D renders, but on the other side, I will expand the ecosystem and expand the world around this particular piece in the Oregon coast. So I did that. A few months later, I had an opportunity, and that opportunity came to me from the same person who bid on this piece, Eyes on Earth, and it's Punk 6529. And I would almost love to bring open our chat and show you the original conversations, but I don't want to do that because I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what he said. But the thing he asked me was, do you want to do a meme card? And I was like, yeah, I think so. Like, I knew what they were, but I didn't understand the vision. And he challenged me to say, I want you to make something science-based, because remember, he bid on this. And he bid on this. He was very vocal about it. There's threads you can look at and you can see where he actually walks through it, and he explains that the reason he bid on this is because he wants more people to have the opportunity to do like citizen science and merge art and science, and, you know, create NFTs that are not just, you know, cool to look at, but are actually instructional or actually educational. And it's a topic me and him have talked about quite a bit since, and I can tell you that at some point we will do something in that area because I think we're both very passionate about it. But his challenge to me was make something science-based. And I was thinking, like, how could I combine science with like my new genre I'm doing? And yes, it uses 3D data. You know, yes, it uses scientific data. Like, these are real world landscapes based on scientific real world data. It's like, it's not fake. You saw the height map. It uses real LiDAR, real photogrammetry, real radar, it all pulled together to make the scene. And yeah, okay, so I don't know if this chat's popped up, but I don't know, but Dennis Jones, the legend Dennis Jones, father of one of my good friend Taylor Jones, recently retired as a couple of years ago, which congrats on that. Golf course design, 100%. So Dennis, like, if you're listening to this still, crazy kind of that you're thinking like that. Tons of stuff happening in the world around 3D golf and replication. And the one that is the coolest by far in my mind is going to be this right here, is the VR golf for Oculus. This is sort of an acquaintance of mine, someone I've kind of chatted with a little bit. He created this game, and it's called Golf Plus. It's now PGA Tour licensed. Look, 23,000 ratings on Oculus, $34. The craziest thing you'll ever experience. It is a full-blown virtual reality golf simulator, and now it has actual real PGA branding, PGA locations, real golf locations, and it's so cool. They actually have actual, like, they replica like FedEx Cup, like real tournaments on these locations at the same time as the real tournaments that are happening in real life. So Dennis, I'm going to just drop you a note here because, sorry guys, I'm going to kind of do this at the same time. Oh, this live now because I don't know if he just sees this and if he's watching. But yeah, thanks Dennis. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, and this is, if you look at it, let's see if I can find some more photos. This is updates. Where did it go? Yeah, this thing is so cool. And I played this in Oculus. If you ever get a chance, you're retired, man, get yourself an Oculus Rift and play this. You will love it. It is so much fun because it's not like a video game where you're, I don't know if I can, maybe I can actually stream this. So hopefully this doesn't get me like kicked off these things, but I'm going to try it. Let me see if I can get some sound. Like how cool is this? So you could imagine, like Dennis, like it's not, we're not talking photorealism yet, but we're getting there. And the limitation here is not because these guys can't make photorealistic golf courses. If you've seen video games, like they're getting pretty crazy, but this is still in VR, which the technology is not quite there yet. But it's really good. And this is the same process. These guys would follow essentially the same process, different tools, which I'll probably jump into in a second, but they're going to go out and get, actual terrain data, LiDAR scan of the golf course. They're going to go out and get the actual textures of the rough and the greens, the textures of the plants, the buildings. They're going to bring it into the software. They're going to recreate it, and they're going to turn it into a video game. So 100%, similar aspect. My vision's like slightly different, but yeah, this is happening around us all the time. Anything sports related, so racing games. Obviously when you play a football game or soccer game, or they're using real stadium data for the most part now to recreate it. So this is a world that I'm super pumped about. And yeah, I'm just gonna do a quick check of some of the chats because I think I don't think I have the chat thing up. Maybe that was the issue. Yeah, I don't know. It just could be also, that was a Facebook comment. Like, I don't know if a Facebook comment is the same as a Facebook chat. But that came through. I didn't see it on the screen. I'm not sure why that is. This one came in, but either way, I'll figure it out for the next stream. I'm just going to do a quick chat on Google, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We'll get this stuff tightened up with the comments and everything. But yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped about the future of where this all goes, and I'll keep kind of walking through where I am with all this stuff. I'm just gonna repost this, and yeah, there we go. Okay, so sorry, I was on my laptop. All right, so yeah, golf is another great idea with this stuff, and yeah, just hit me in any comments. I'll find them eventually, and I'll respond to them. Okay, so back where I was, we talked about Punk 659. He asked me to do this meme card based on real world data, and I reached out to NorCal, who's the collector of this, and said, "Hey, we have an opportunity. I have an idea related to this piece I'd like to do. Would you like to collaborate with me on it? Let's come up with a split." So we came up with a split of the future revenue. So we said, hey, he's going to get a percentage. It was like, came up with 15 or 20%, and I would keep 80%. And I'd say, hey, I'm going to make something from your world, from Haseta. You own this in my ecosystem. I'll make something. You help me out. You give me inspiration. You give me feedback. We'll send it to Punk 6529. And maybe we'll make some sales. So we started the process. We got in a group chat, us together, 6529, 6529er, which works with team, NorCal. So big collaboration. And I proposed an idea where I wanted to do a tourism poster from the Oregon coast. And I'll show you the inspiration. It literally just got posted on Twitter today. Actually, let's do it on Twitter. Because it just came today. Let's see if I can find it. Well, maybe Twitter. Oh, interesting. Can't even load Twitter right now. That's odd. I think I can find it. Oregon Coast Tourism Vintage. One of these is going to come up. So I kind of had this idea of doing like something like these old vintage posters. So if you start to see, I don't know if I'll find the exact one that inspired it. Yeah, maybe not. But there was this, okay, it's basically this one and another one. So is this kind of view of the lighthouse from further away with a vehicle. This one was different, but I had a couple that were kind of in this same area. And I'd been to the Oregon coast, so I'd actually, earth.google.com. I actually been to this place, and the advantage of this over just sort of making a quick piece of art in Blender was that I knew what it looked like from different locations. I really felt comfortable with the location. I had tons of reference photos from every angle. This photo right here was probably the biggest inspiration for my piece. You can see it here. This view, you can see the building, you can see the trees. This photo was as close, I think, as you can get to what I was trying to do. So there's the photo, there's the render. But in Google Earth, if you look at this, this is the lighthouse, and you can see that if you bring the camera over here, you get, pretty close to what my composition was. Not exactly, but you can see the road down here, and the bridge is not in this Google Earth because of the fidelity of it. But there's the composition, and there's Google Earth. Well, I remember being over here on this side, and in particular right at this corner right here, and I parked my van right here on this corner, and I walked here and I saw this scene from this angle, which you can't really get because the camera won't drop. But let me just go a little further. Somewhere like this, like from this angle here, where you could see this road. Yeah, like something like this. Like you see this road down here. There was a tunnel. There was a beach. And then there was the lighthouse on this side. And I was like, I feel like there could be a tourism poster from that angle. And then the whole idea with the meme cards, which is a collection of art from like some of the most incredible artists on Earth, all with like a tribute to the Web3 NFT culture. So all of the memes, all of the things that people say to each other, all that like little subculture stuff. If you went through a punk rock subculture or any other subculture on Earth, there's like a language, there's a way of communicating that people that are in that ecosystem, they communicate with each other a certain way. And 6529 captured that with this collection, and every artist kind of took on the challenge of how to incorporate the culture of Web3 into their art. The biggest maybe example of this just being this simple GM, which people say all the time, good morning. People say it in the afternoon, evening, before they go to bed. It's just part of the culture. It's just like a quick greeting, to kind of let people know you're around and you're online, and people like to reply back and say GM, and it's one of the cool parts about being in this world. So I wanted to create something, and I thought, hey, the vision I have is, I want to recreate these old landscapes that are as realistic as possible, but I'm bringing them into the metaverse. What would it be like to do tourism in the metaverse? How cool it would be in the future is if you went in VR and you got a chance to travel to the Oregon coast. So now it's like a metaverse play. I kind of brought it all together, and I created this final piece of art, which was called Open Roads, Open Metaverse. And I'll show it to you right now. Welcome to the Oregon coast. There's some music in the background. We'll play it. Some synthwave vibes here. So that was basically the scene. And we'll just mute this and let this play. And, the concept was exactly what I said. It was wanted to have this kind of vintage tourism poster from that viewpoint. You can see the lighthouse back here. You can see the road and the ocean. And then when this switches, you can actually see the skeleton of the 3D render, which is this right here. And then when it switches, you get this version, which is a full tribute to, bring this up here, which is a full tribute to the culture of the memes and of Web3 and of NFTs. So Welcome to the Open Metaverse has the same Volkswagen bus, the 6529 logo, the GM 6942. It's got this thing called a squiggle, which is like a really iconic piece of art that started an entire generative art movement and was, a huge part of NFTs. The texture on the bus is actually a couple of pieces of iconic art that are owned by 6529. This is 6529's CryptoPunk, which is his NFT, his avatar that he uses on Twitter, and kind of became an entire brand. As a funny side note, in the Web3 world, when you think of a branding standpoint, CryptoPunks were trading, at any point in time, I don't know what this hoodie punk might have been worth $1 million at one point, or maybe more, maybe less. But the brand, the 6529 brand that's attached to this now is so massive. There's an entire fund behind it. There's an entire, university program teaching. There's an art collection. There's some really cool stuff. So that was his PFP, we call it, his avatar. All these other avatars were iconic avatars from the collection that were trading for, reasonable amount of money at the time. All these little pieces up here are art from that era. So all these valuable pieces of art that, artists made and sold either to 6529 or to other collectors. And this is a MeBit, which is one of the first PFPs and actually a 3D file. So this was the tribute, and it used real world data because I was able to essentially take this same scene, the same set ahead scene, import it into a new file. And if I open it up right now, it is called Open Roads. Don't know if this one will actually have the correct texturing, but let's try it. Let's try this one. I don't know. I'm bad with organizing files. I'm sure other artists can relate to this. But with any luck, I'm going to be able to bring this up and actually see. Yeah, so look. So this is the same file, right? There's the road, some headlamps. Here's the bus. You can see over in this corner, we've got the lighthouse. I simplified the version because you can't see a lot of this in the scene, but this is all the same data, the same exact files brought in to make this meme card. And I actually don't know whether this will render, but for people that own this piece or maybe watching this stream, fingers crossed this works. Usually it's a missing file somewhere, or texture lighting file. I do a bad job of keeping those organized after the fact. But yeah, there you go. Unfortunately, it works in terms of composition, but it's missing a bunch of stuff and files and all that thing. But you get the idea. I was able to actually make this render using the same data, the same location, and we did a whole thread about explaining it. And that became the journey. So this piece sold out immediately. It was the most successful art drop I've ever done. It had made more money than anything I'd ever done before. It became tradable. People were buying and selling it. It was something that kind of introduced me to a whole new set of collectors, started a community. Just an incredible experience creating this piece of art as a tribute to the culture of the memes and of 6529 and everyone that was in NFTs at the time. It's still currently trading for 0.22 ETH, so $359. There's currently 555 of these. The market is, at the worst that it's ever been, probably in NFTs right now. But you can kind of see that at peak, there were sales. I don't know what, there was a sale here. So at the peak, there was 4 sales for 1.28 ETH, 1.69. So it was trading into the 1.5 ETH range in January of this year. And just a really cool experience creating these. So, kind of continue that journey, right? Like expanding this beyond the original piece into something different based on using the real world data. So then At the same time, I was also working on my next piece in the series, which was called Cathedral. I'll show you that really quick. This is currently available on Super Rare right now. It's been here for 5 months, which is completely okay because the plans that I have for this piece right now have me so excited. And if you knew the story and understood like how well NorCal did in terms of making money off of, that piece and the collaboration we did, and people understood the vision and where this is going, even in this market, I'm confident someone will get this at some point and will look back as one of the biggest steals in the NFT art world. I really truly believe that. I'll show you some things now, but I'll be streaming this from now on. I'm going to literally be full disclosure everything I'm doing. But yeah, this is the second piece I made, and then I did one more piece which I'm going to show you guys on Super Rare, which was my third location, which was based in Mount Fuji in Japan. So this particular piece, I'm going to come back to the cathedral in a second, but this particular piece, there's something been weird about Super Rare lately. This is the piece. I don't know why it's not coming up. But this is the piece here, and what's unique about this piece is same idea. This is a 3D render of Mount Fuji. It uses the same 3D real-world data, same thing that you just saw here, where you can move around the scene and change the camera angle. A photo scan of this Airbnb patio that I stayed at in Mount Fuji. Same exact concept. But what's cool about this one is if you click and you use your keyboard, you can actually change the scene. So there's 20 different scenes here, each with unique lighting and weather conditions. So if I go left to right, we have kind of a rainy day, we've got a windy day, we've got a clear day with sunrise, we've got a clear day with sunset, we've got a foggy day, and if we go this way, we're actually changing the time of day. So this is night with fog, this is night with thunderstorms, night with a bit of wind, night with no wind, night with clouds, night with fog. We've got sunrise. There's 20 different scenes, all of this same exact view in Mount Fuji. And why this is important and why this sort of really was a critical part of my journey is now I'm highlighting the fact that when you create a 3D render and you recreate that scene, you have not just freedom of camera movement, which you saw in the meme card where I was able to move the camera to this side of the scene, but in this particular case, you have total freedom of environment. You have freedom to change the weather, the sky, how wet the cement is. If you take a peek at some of these scenes, you can see that the cement gets wet when it's foggy out or when it rains. You can see there's some wetness on the side of this. The lighting has changed. You have full freedom in these 3D environments to manipulate them in whatever way you see fit. So you can pick, that iconic moment, that magical time for that particular location and scene and make a single 3D render of it. Or you can make multiple renders of different times of day and different weather conditions. You can change it over time. This opens up an entirely new world when it comes to the art that I'm creating. It was a big reason why I wanted to make all these scenes. Shout out to Kenshiro, who bid on this piece and won it during a really tough market. And he believed in what I was doing, and we do have massive plans for Fuji that are coming, once I get through a few pieces and when maybe the market is in the right condition. But this is what I'm excited about. There's a lot that I have ready to be doing with this, and I think it kind of highlights a little bit of where I am now and how far I've come as an artist from, the original piece that I created to this piece, this piece now. I think if you look at the details and look what I made, I've come a long way and I've learned a lot in the last, it's a year. It's just kind of crazy to think about. I've only been a year at this since I minted that piece, probably, a year and a half of creating these 3D renders. Okay, so let's keep it moving. So currently right now, what I have is three 3D renders from three real world locations, all symbolized by actual locations on Earth. We have Heceta, we have Cathedral, which is based on Cathedral Rock in Arizona. So let's go on a little journey to that. That is this piece right here, and in particular, there's a location called Slick Rock. It is, I never can find it. It's on this side. Cathedral, Slick Rock Trailhead. So Cathedral is based on this location here. I parked my van here. I walk down this trail, and there's this little slab of rock. And in this slab of rock is a little puddle that forms right in this location. When it rains, which it doesn't rain that much in Sedona, so if you wait there for 3 or 4 days like I did, eventually it rains. This fills with water. You can put a camera down really low in this scene, and you can actually take a photo of that location right there. So that is the second one, which is Cathedral. And then the last one, which is Mount Fuji, is based in Lake Yamanaka in Japan. And this one is based on an Airbnb. So if we fly all the way over the world, all the way to Japan, we pop into this location, we get this cool looking whale lake. And if we scroll down here right beside this water park, and we go right to this corner, and we bring the camera up, which doesn't always work until you have a bit of freedom to move it. And there you go. This is the actual scene, get the camera somewhere in here. This is the actual scene of Mount Fuji right here. So all based on real world locations, all having this sort of ability to make derivatives. But this has been my craft and what I've been working on for the last year and a half. Where we're at today, which is exciting for me, and I'm going to share a few of these things right now. We'll go for another 25 minutes and then I'll wrap it up. But there's a couple really crazy breakthroughs that I've had recently, and I want to share a couple of them. The first one is that there's something called Google photorealistic tiles, which is something that is basically used to build Google Earth. So if you look at Google Earth, what this is it's a combination of here, I'm going to use, well, we'll just keep this for now. So it's a combination of, actual 3D terrain. It's not great resolution, but it shows the elevation and the height. And it's a combination of satellite photos. So I've been experimenting with using this data both in Unreal Engine and Blender to add more detail and more depth to the scene. So I'll show you an example if I can find it and bring it up. So this is, let me see. Let's see if this is the one that will work. It may not. Okay, it did. So this location is Patagonia in Argentina. It's going to become relevant in a second. Just bear with me. So remember, there's 3 scenes that I've done. There's, Oregon, there's Arizona, and there's Japan. But there's a 4th location that I am not been to, but I'm hopefully going to be going in January. But this is one I've been experimenting with friend and another artist, Tyler Leckie. He's down there right now, and he's been, sharing his work, and we've been talking and collaborating on some just different ideas. But the main concept was, could we kind of create an experience or an environment that would help highlight some 360 photos that he's actually made. I don't have the link. We could probably find it. Let me just see if I can. The Cooler 360 Photos, Ty Leckie. I'll bring this up here and see if I can track these down. Well, there is one on Super Rare, so I'll show you this. So Tyler has been specializing in doing, see NorCal guy again. He's been just an amazing collector in the space. He's been specializing in 360 photos, so I'm going to plug his work here for a second when this loads. he takes 360 photos with a drone, and they're beautiful. Like, this is one of the photos that he took, and they're stunning photos. They're incredible, and he has a huge collection of them. So we were trying to come up with a way to highlight it, and one of the challenges that he was having, and I guess I don't want to call it criticism, but my feedback to him was like, this is beautiful, but like, I can't figure out where this is. I don't have context or a feeling of like, where am I in this photo? I know it's Patagonia. I know, it's Loma Blanca, and I can look it up on a map, but I can't really feel for where you were when you took this. It's a little easier when you're on the ground because people can see the reference and kind of know where they are. So we started experimenting with like how to bring his work into a 3D environment so that we could transport ourselves around the world and then lock in on these 360 photos. So this is the fourth scene. It's not yet, I haven't shared this other than this live streams. But you can see it. If he, I don't know the exact location of this one. I know this area a little better now because I've been looking on the map, but I don't know if I could spot this. It's super hard. So probably not going to get it right, but it's somewhere in this area, right? This is the Fitzroy Mountain and Serratori in the background, and there's glaciers over here. There's an entire, world with mountain lakes and hikes, and this is the little town called El Chatan, somewhere down here. Where is El Chatan? Down here, where most people base out of and hike. If you're a photographer, you've probably either dreamed of going to Patagonia, or you've been to Patagonia. Just a beautiful landscape, and I wanted to sort of recreate this landscape in the 3D tools. I will eventually do my own render from here, but for now I was trying to sort of create something that maybe would incorporate his work. So you can see if you go into Google Earth where the location was, and if you scroll into Blender, you can see that I was able to bring in the actual terrain that looks almost identical to what you see in Google Earth. Arguably higher resolution, but this same scene is now brought into Blender, and you can tell that it's the same scene by where the shadow location is. So this is using actual satellite imagery, which is being captured from way above the Earth in those three, in those satellites that are rotating. And at this particular time of day, which is probably very close to midday, there obviously still is a sun angle, and it's casting the shadow. And if you zoom in, you can even see, the Google logo in the image. But this was kind of a groundbreaking thing I discovered, because I can pick any location on Earth right now using some different tools, and I can import both satellite imagery, the terrain data, and these 3D tiles directly into Blender and start to manipulate it for 3D. So I could do that same idea, place a camera angle wherever I want. And obviously the fidelity of this isn't great, but add a background image, add some lighting, retexture all of this stuff, but keep some of the actual photography in here from satellites. You can start to recreate these scenes in 3D really effectively. My battery's going to die on my laptop. I just won't be able to monitor the stream, but I'll do a quick check before I go. I'm staying here, but just to quickly see if there's any comments. It's just very weird because Twitter doesn't have anything. Let's see. I don't see anything going on YouTube. There are some people watching, so thank you, and for the thumbs up for people watching. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just please drop a comment, even if you're just watching, just drop a comment in if you can. If you can't get the stream on Twitter for comments, come over to YouTube if you don't mind, or Twitch, or whatever you have. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Twitch, it's on Twitter. Just drop a comment so I can see that it works, and it helps out a lot. But this has been, so far, as long as I watch this back and the audio isn't disaster, this has been pretty cool. So I don't see anything on Twitch and Facebook. I talked to Dennis, but it looks like the stream is running, so we're gonna just close this up and keep rocking it. Okay, so this is Blender, huge kind of breakthrough. Don't want to get too far in the technical weeds on this, but this was a pretty big deal. And then the next big step that I'm going to switch over to, and we'll close it, was that I started to really understand how to make proper landscapes in a tool called Gaia. And I want to show you this really quickly. We'll spend like 2 minutes on this and then I'll get into some more fun stuff. But I've been using things like World Creator, which is a cool tool, but I just didn't love how it worked. Because one of the things I discovered when I started using Blender and then later DaVinci Resolve and Unreal Engine is the power of nodes. And if you're an artist and you're watching this, I'll make my little rant. I'm going to do a thread about this, but I've talked about it before, but learn nodes. Like, not every artist this is applicable to, but if you're a photographer, you're in video, you were in 3D, you know this stuff, but really think about using nodes, because I'm telling you the difference between understanding how nodes work versus layers, like in Photoshop or Premiere or even After Effects, is night and day once you understand it. I won't do a massive rant here, but it's the repeatability, having modules that you can reuse in different places, having the ability to organize it so you can read a node group from left to right and actually understand what's happening to a scene. Transferring to other artists becomes easier, so you can understand like what is actually happening here. How is this file actually being manipulated? And the biggest one, is that once you learn nodes for one program, so my first I think was DaVinci Resolve, then Blender, then Gaia, Unreal Engine. It's like riding a bike. It's like you learn it once, you can go get on a mountain bike, you can go get on a road bike, you can go get on a dirt bike, not a unicycle, but you can get on any bike, and you have like a basic understanding of how this thing works. And that is not the same when you're switching between a lot of software. World Creator was a huge disappointment for me because I love the software, I learned it. I kind of got into the Discord group, I was looking at what these guys were doing, and they were constantly changing the interface, like changing the UI, saying, oh, we want to do it this way, that way. And what happened was there's like 3 different versions, all with different UI, UX. There's videos were inconsistent because you try to do it in one program. It's, oh, that was the old version. And I got so frustrated with that software that I started looking at new options. And when I found Gaia, I was like, okay, this is exactly what I needed. So the quick overview of Gaia is the same thing that I did, the same thing that I showed you on the beginning of the stream, is simply taking a height map and displacing the terrain. So this is Patagonia. This is this exact location using height map data that I got from a Japanese satellite of all places. There it is, displacing the terrain. But as you can see, the quality of this is not that great. It's blotchy. It looks like it's almost noisy because this is not super high resolution terrain data. It's really hard to get high resolution terrain data from the remote region of Argentina. It's not practical. So you can go from left to right and read what I did. I added erosion to the scene. I say that and then nothing's happening. So this is my great speech on nodes. Fails when the nodes don't actually work. I don't know why that's actually not working. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, something about that erosion node's not working. But if I flip over to Stratify, you can see the difference. Is it just slow? Maybe it's just because my stream. Give me 1 second. Pin. I want to unpin this. Yeah, I think maybe that's going now. Yeah, there it is. No. Okay, there it is. So from left to right, here's the terrain. We add a bit of erosion, which adds some detail into the actual landscape. We stratify it, which brings everything down and sort of compacts it and adds more detail. We add this rugged modifier, which adds even more detail. We then go through and actually add snow. So we actually simulate where the snow is in the scene. So I think this is it here. So you can see we actually simulated where the snow would fall in the scene. We added glaciers. So we actually simulated where there would be glacier formations. We eroded it, so we actually made it look kind of more like a glacier. And then we went and we colored it based on all of the different parts of the scene. So we went from grass to identifying where there would be rocks. So now we've got grass here and rocks. We then figured out where there would be peaks, so where there would be kind of more exposed rock, different kind of stratification or just sort of layering of the rocks. We figured out where the water would be on the scene. We figured out where the snow would be. And the end result is this. We have like kind of a little 3D replica of Patagonia that we can now export into any 3D program and start to work with. So this is now like a template I can reuse. And with, probably an hour or two stream, I could take terrain data from anywhere in the world, combine it with satellite imagery, run it through all these different filters to create different masks. So I have like mask for height and masks for, where the water is and the snow and the glaciers, like all this data that I can then bring into different 3D software and use it for texturing, for coloring. I can't tell you how much of a change this made, figuring this program out and incorporating it into my workflow. So, going from maybe 6 months, 8 months working on a single piece, down to 2 or 3 months, down to a month, and then eventually, hopefully getting to a place where I could, whip up a 3D render of a location in a week, would make my life massive improvement in terms of my art career and my ability to create, a volume and like just to be able to create art in an efficient manner. Okay, so that was the next breakthrough. And the last one, which gets really fun, and we'll end the stream with these, is that I have been experimenting with Unreal Engine. And let me tell you, Unreal Engine is it is a game changer for me and my vision as an artist. And there's 2 layers to this. And the first one is just purely what Unreal Engine can do as software. So I'm going to show you a current scene. This is a fake scene. This is just something I've been experimenting with, but just to show you, this is an island. It's called the Sandlot. And I was trying to get, there we go. This is just a purely fictional world that I've been just messing with to learn some of the techniques around Unreal Engine. But you can see I've got a beach area here with like actual wave simulation going on. I don't know how well that's going to come through in the stream. Hopefully not too bad, but an ocean simulation. Little area here inland. I have some kind of desert area simulated, some alpine area with snow, an entire desert area on this side of the map with sand dunes. And if you kind of zoom in, you actually see that there's actual real textures on the ground. And then some little paths I've been working on, some more landscape over here, and even this little dome, which is what I was telling you earlier. I've been working on a way to showcase Tyler's 3D photos. So if you look at this map and you want to actually see how this works, the crazy thing about Unreal Engine, and the reason why this sort of blew my mind the first time I saw it, is now that I have this created, and I did a bunch of work here. I brought in a metahuman, which is like a 3D replica of me. I've also done this for family members just as sort of experiments, but watch this. Is probably going to freeze for a second. And the fans are spinning up on the PC, and hopefully the stream doesn't crash. Should be ceremoniously probably the right thing to happen here. But, I mean, check this out. Fully have a little 3D replica of myself in this scene, able to walk around, able to jump. And, we don't have this set up yet, but you can see his actual 360 photo up here at the top of this dome. And, far from, finished product, we're just experimenting, but to give you an idea, I can also play it from this side. And now we're on the beach with actual waves and sound hopefully coming through. So we actually have, beach sound coming through on this one. Testing, hopefully this audio isn't too low. And then, if you bring it over here and you drop the character on this part, you should actually, there it is, loading. Actual grass textures and wind coming into the scene. So, super slow, by the way. I can see the stream getting choppy, but That's that first experiment. So going all the way back to, let me see if I can find this. Going all the way back to Heseda, I think I have it. It might not be imported. Let me just close this and see if I can grab that file. If not, I'll do it on another stream. But I've been slowly bringing in these worlds into Unreal Engine. I'm going to try this one. I don't know if this is going to work, but I really want to show Heseda because it kind of shows the progression of, photos that I took on site to making a 3D render in Blender to eventually making something that one day, NorCal or other people who appreciate the scene will be able to actually experience and actually visit this location in 3D software. That will include VR as the technology gets better, as Unreal Engine and VR come together with new headsets and new processing power and new tools and AI and all these things. We're going to get to a point where I really truly believe, you'll be able to put on a VR headset and look at the same location that I stood at to take that photo and that 3D render, and look out over the side of the rail and see the ocean coming in and hear the birds and, see the lighthouse, shooting. It's decommissioned, but see the lighthouse with the light coming out and walk in the lighthouse, experience what that place is like. That's been my dream, is to make those worlds come to life. And it's taken me, a year plus now of kind of working at this and figuring it out, but it's making progress. And unfortunately, I would thought that I had imported that scene. Before I do this, let me just quickly try it, because when Unreal Engine goes into compiling shaders like that, it means it hasn't been opened in a while, and it usually means that we're waiting for quite a while. So I'll try this in here. If not, what I might do is flip over to one more thing before I close the stream, and I'll come back and I'll do a full walkthrough of the Oregon coast. I swear I had this file in here. I just haven't opened it in a couple months, but I thought that I brought it over from the old version, which was that. Maybe it was this file. I don't know. We'll try this for a second. Otherwise, I have something else to kind of show to end the stream. Probably go 5 or 10 minutes over past 6 o'clock Eastern, just to kind of finish this up, and then I'll have like one nice video walking people through my my journey as an artist for the last 2 years. So 2 years condensed down to 2 hours is not too bad. But I appreciate anyone that's paid attention and watched this, and I'll clip out some cool parts and post it all over the place. So, okay, let's just make sure that I didn't miss something here in terms of levels. Patagonia, Sandbox, no. Engine, no. All, let's just type in Seta. Nope. Okay, so I don't have it in here. Let me just try one more. And if I can't find it, I'll switch over. And then I'll launch the other one at the end of the stream. I mean, wondering if maybe it got into this map and I didn't realize it. Hopefully it doesn't do that shader thing. This one looks faster. Yeah. So because I've been working, and Unreal Engine is like a full-blown game engine, game developers, large teams have worked on this. I'm pretty new, obviously, to it. So, just best practices, learning how all this stuff works has been a fun process. I don't think I have it. I mean, I have it. I just think it's going to open up in that other file, which is going to take a bit. Would really like to show it before I go to the other one. Yeah, let's give it a try. I would really like to see it running and show this off on the stream. So even if it takes a little bit here to load, I'll find something else to talk about as we go. Maybe I'll just go through a few things with like where you can find my art and how you can get in touch with me, and then I'll come back to this as this loads in the background. So as an artist, most of my original work, like all of my photography work, is on Instagram. So you can go to my Instagram at Matt Scoble, and you can see most of my work, original photography work, and some of my 3D render work on this page. Most of the Web3 stuff plays out on Twitter, and you see that avatar. It's just not logged in. You see that avatar. Maybe I gotta log in here. Hopefully this works. You see this avatar, which is, in this stream, which we're in right now. This avatar is by an artist named George Williams, based in the UK. And this is probably the first real one-of-one NFT that I purchased. And he painted this particular image. You can kind of see the textures of the paint and the different colors. This was like an abstract painting. And he photo scanned the painting, brought it into 3D software as a texture, and then wrapped it around this mannequin, this bust that he created in 3D. And it was just jumped off the page at me when I saw it. And I purchased it from him, and it's been my avatar ever since. You can see most of my interaction work in the Web3 world and the art world, 3D worlds happening on Twitter. I do have a little portfolio website, although I know I'm missing a couple pieces. It's a shame on me for not having this set up. But, this is my Memes in the Sky is my latest piece. You can see open roads in here. I don't know how you scroll this. I guess like this on desktop. Closing chapter, my series 2 NFTs, my series 1, which is the photography, Eyes on Earth, as well as some of the promo videos that I've done. Maybe I'll play one of these quickly. This is my promo video for my 2 series. These are some promo videos for Kath Samard, which I did for her artwork. I think there were 3 main ones. This was the Genesis piece that started it all. Some of my commercial work on this page, and I think it links out to my website. My podcast with NorCal, which is a 54-minute listen if you want to hear a little bit more about my journey into Web3 and art, is on this page. I also have a Q&A, which if you're a collector or you're interested in what I'm doing, you can book anytime. 30-minute session just to kind of, talk through my process, ask any questions. All my social media links are on this page as well. You can see our stream going, so we'll do a little inception here once this flips over, but super cool to see this actually running. Just a shame that I can't get a chat or have people actually comment in here. I really wish there's some inception. I really wish Twitter would double down on this live stuff and get some better interaction, but you can see all 2 people that are viewing it, which I appreciate. Maybe those are me. But yeah, that's most of my stuff on Twitter. Let me double check this, see if it's still going. What else do we have in terms of my work, where you can find it? Twitter, Instagram. I have some stuff on my website. In particular, if you look at the NFT piece, there's a really cool page if you're curious. I got to update these. This is the one I'm talking about. I don't know if I have. I guess I don't have it linked. On Earth. Hopefully I still have this page up. I don't. Yeah, here it is. So this is the Eyes on Earth animation and the whole description. I actually have the Blender project here. So if anyone wants to experiment with this, it's all here and available to download, and all the code is actually available on GitHub and all the description of how this was made. I did this to support the CC0 movement, which is basically, releasing NFTs that are freely available for people to duplicate, build upon, create something of their own, is a big part of that. So, if anyone downloads this data and creates something with it, I will support it. I will, reshare it. And you know, it's just a really cool thing to be able to do. Man, I don't know if this is it's going to work in terms of loading this thing. That was my mistake. I should have loaded this thing before I went. But what I'll do is I will show quickly, hopefully it works on the stream. I'm going to show a couple of videos of this that I know I have. And then I'll do the last part of this demo, and then, you know, I'll come back on another stream and do a proper walkthrough. But quickly, the last couple things I want to show is this promo video. So this is my promo video for Web3, and this theme, and I'll let this play. I'll hit this with the, well, I don't want to go full screen because, well, actually, no, I can't. So we'll keep it here. So that was the second of a two-part series that I've been working on, and there is a bit of lore to this thing that's coming together. I made that entirely in Blender. I'm not an animator. I'm learning, but it was kind of a crazy process to get to that point to be able to make something like that. And it tells a bit of a story, which will come into play later in my work, but the shortest version is just, you know, we might find ourselves in a place one day where these places don't exist, and what memories do we have? What tools do we have to re-experience them? So the scene or the area is a floating space gallery with all of my artwork, which sort of represents my memories of Earth. But the new technology or the new version of that is, you know, the little ball with the landscape in it and the ability to actually go inside the landscape and experience it. So that is kind of a bit of a little teaser of like the mission that I have. But, you know, essentially, I'm just imagining a world where we can't go to Moraine Lake. We can't go to these crazy locations. And like, what's the best, highest fidelity, most interactive, immersive version of that we have? And, you know, I just want to be a part of whatever group of people that are working on that problem and trying to make that. So the last piece, which I'll show you, I'll take a quick look at my files and just see if I have a quick video that I can play here on the stream of the current work in progress for Heseta. Let me just see if I have one. Yeah, so I do. Oh, did this load? Did I? Okay. Spoke too soon. I guess I thought I closed that in the background. Maybe it was trying to load multiple scenes. So if this works, give it a second. I'll just do it live. It could be a big risk because overloading. It's overloading encoding. We'll see. I don't know. I'm looking at my stream. It looks choppy, but hopefully the audio is coming in okay. Bear with this. This is, you know, hopefully this will load and I can run through this quickly. So this is, you can see the name there. It's another metahuman scan. This is my cousin Nathan. We did a little scan of his face and brought him into this scene. Man, I hope that this doesn't freeze. I think between streaming out to 4 or 5 services, running all these files at once, my computer is not liking it. But hopefully this is going to load. You know what? I think I loaded it twice. Let's go close one. Yeah, that may have been it too. I may have actually loaded the file twice, and that would cause all sorts of slow down. Oh man, this is brutal. The joys of Unreal Engine. I want to close one of these. It's not letting me do it. All right, over time on the stream. It's probably going to take me a little bit longer to get this loaded, and then, yeah, I want to show. There's two things here. I want to show an Unreal Engine. So at this point, I'm committed. I'd like to get this all in one stream so I can kind of move on to the current stuff I'm doing next week, and you can tune in and see what I'm working on. Ask questions if you want, but it's sort of a state of the union to get up to date. And I don't really know, if I should try to close this off. This is a good idea with the stream going, but there's two versions of Unreal Editor going, and I need to shut one of them down, or else this is gonna probably not work. I just don't know if you can get one and not close the other. Okay, I think that worked. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I hear the computer slowing down a little bit, which is nice. And with any luck, nothing totally crashed. And we can get something. Opening editor. Okay. There we go. Something's loading here. Wow. Okay, that was... I don't think I've ever shown this before. Very, very, very early work in progress on this one. But just sort of starting to kind of think about what, some type of a space view. So this is kind of the very early beginning. Wow, the speed on this thing is nuts. It's what happens when you open a file live on a stream that you haven't opened up, and even the detail. I don't want to pin that. Give me. Why can't I get? Okay, here we go. Let's bring the camera speed down. Yeah, so this is just sort of experimenting with a little environment with the earth in the background, and this thing is just like I was showing before with the other scene. This is also playable. So we've got, textures are still loading in. You can see on the bottom right, but once it loads the textures, we got Metanate in here. Yeah, and same idea. Can walk around this scene, and we've got kind of interactivity here and some pretty cool lighting, and then your orbit of Earth looking out the window. But the real thing I wanted to show was, hopefully I do have this in here. If I don't, it's gone forever. But I have a location for Heceta, and this one is pretty far along. It may even have some interactive lighting stuff that I had worked on it previously. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm watching the stream right now, and it's rough. It's rough in terms of frame rate, so I apologize for that. And this is probably going to be just as bad, but I'll try this quickly, and then I'll shut it down and try the one. Show you the one more thing I'm working on, and then we'll call it a stream. We were going nice and smooth up into this point, and I realized how much Unreal Engine takes up in terms of the live stream. I unfortunately probably can't see the chat stuff. I'm just going to go through a few of them. At Twitter, there can't be anything, I don't think. So let me just quickly peek at that. Nope, there's nothing that I don't think you can do in terms of Twitter. Yeah. Okay, so that's loading for a second. I'm just going to check through the comments here. Let's see. Twitch. Open up Twitch. App update, no. Creator mode. Looks like the stream's going, which is good. I don't know if I can see comments here. Looks like we're good in terms of comments on Twitch. YouTube. Looks like we're still live there. Oh, I missed Austin and I missed Zaltrod. I'm sorry to both you guys. Sorry. witnessed these chats. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do here, and for people streaming, is man, like, what a crazy experience learning this. I went from just like barely being able to get the screen sharing going, horrible audio, video, to now most of my issues are to do with bandwidth of some of these programs. But I'm getting there in terms of my experience. But the thing that I'm working on was the experiment today, and at least from what I can see, it's working with a few exceptions. Is I'm simultaneously streaming on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter and Facebook. And what should happen is you should be able to comment or chat with me on any of those programs. The chat will pop up on the screen so everyone watching the stream can see it. I'll answer it live. People want tutorials or questions, just want to chat while I'm working, I can do that. And you should be able to see what platform people are coming from. So a bit of a fail there because those weren't coming in, but Austin Wave, that might be my nephew, or C. Zaltrod, I am live, and I've been live for the last 2 hours and 14 minutes. I'm live. The current plan will be for me to be live on Twitch twice a day, every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all week, as I work on these 3D scenes. And I'm going to talk about, Monday I might announce kind of a little change of plan in terms of what I'm working on. Saturdays, let's say tentatively 4 o'clock right now, I'm going to do probably a 2-hour stream on all these platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, the whole thing, and kind of review what I've been working on through the week, walk through maybe some, quick tutorials, just kind of chat and answer questions. And that will be kind of my, weekly check-in, weekly summary of the work that I've been doing. And then Sundays I'm going to take off, but this is, I said at the beginning of the stream, like coming from a very regimented world with meetings and deadlines and a plan and, to-do lists, to being an artist where you are totally, self-sufficient and basically deciding your own schedule it's obviously amazing with flexibility, but it's also incredibly difficult to focus and actually be not necessarily productive every day because I've been putting the work in and learning and getting better. But it's easy to go down like a rabbit hole on YouTube tutorials. It's easy to go down a rabbit hole experimenting with software. It's difficult to sit down and be like, this is what I need to accomplish today. And like, it's the war of art. It's like putting the work in every day. If you're a writer, it's writing the novel you're working on. It's not, browsing the internet, looking at blogs. It's not, it's focused, intentional effort. And I didn't know how to hold myself accountable, to be honest, to be really honest. I just didn't have the discipline to do it when no one was looking. And it's maybe the best way to put it. So at least I have the habit, and maybe it turns out to be something productive. The idea has been, I'm going to stream. So when I sit down to work on 3D art, I'm going to stream. If I'm doing something else, if I'm on Twitter, if I'm, doing social media, other things, cool. But if I'm making art as much as I can with hopefully very few exceptions, I am going to live stream what I'm doing. And that will hold me accountable, give me, the feeling of maybe, a few people dropping in here and there to see what I'm working on. Like, an artist working in a studio in New York, where people will stop in and see what you're working on, what you're up to, have a chance to chat. I'm going to make this a routine, and hopefully collectors, other artists, supporters will pop in and say hi every once in a while. And hopefully when the market changes, this could become a cool thing for me and potentially other artists to be doing. The other thing is, the beautiful part that I've learned that I'm really excited about is, if you really look into like how content gets produced, I've always been a bit of a anti-content, I went through that world before I got into 3D, and I've always been like, I don't want to go back to like thinking content. Like, I want to make stuff. I don't want this to be about social media and engagement and sharing. I just truly, honestly, I've avoided it. But realizing as an artist is part of the job and part of what you have to do, and you got to put in the work every day. So I've been, getting advice and seeking help and trying to put together systems and processes. So the really, really cool part about this that I'm excited about is the ability to just clip the best parts of the stream. So if I get a nice 30-second segment where I'm making a texture or, creating a camera angle or composition, I can pull that 30 seconds out and I can post it on Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, whatever. It's like a content strategy for me, and it just means that you never miss anything, because sometimes you're working on art and you have like a cool moment and you want to share that, hey, I made this thing, I figured this out, or this came together in a cool way, and you don't do it because you don't have the video of when it actually happened. So now I have that video, I can commentate over it, I can share it, and fingers crossed this works. Definitely good at distracting, but I'm really annoyed. I don't know if this is going to load, to be really honest. I should not have loaded this file that hasn't loaded in 6 months. I thought I converted it to that new version that I saw. I guess I didn't. I'm probably missing something there. I don't know if this is even going to translate on the stream, but right now this is not running right. It's still preparing the shaders, but there is no landscape. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I'm stubborn, so I'm going to hold until at least I get an error message or this finishes. The percentage is 83. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to cancel, but man, that'd be so disappointing because I really wanted to share this, and you can look around and see the ocean and the trees, but you can't actually see the landscape, which is the part that I was excited about. If I had a group, a chat here, and I could actually ask, you could get people to vote and say, what do you want me to do here? Do you want to actually have me quit this, or do you want me to keep going? Where's the chat? I'm just hoping that this will pop in here in a second. It may be frozen. Yeah, it may be frozen. That's too bad. But let's close this out, and let me show you a couple videos, and then we'll flip this over. So apologize for that. I know I have a couple. Let's go into active projects, Aseta. Let's go into output, behind the scenes, UE5. So here's a promo video. I'll have this posted on Twitter, but I think this is kind of a good representation. So this is the metahuman in the scene. And I'm actually triggering lighting changes here. So every time I press the button, it's going to a different combination of day and night. Sunrises, sunsets, stars. And this is the location. So just to pause it, go back. This is the actual Oregon coast. I'm standing underneath the lighthouse at that location that I stood to do these 3D scans and to experience this scene. And yeah, I'm pumped about the potential of this. Even got some aurora, the moon in the background. It's coming together. It's coming together. So that's the basic scene. I'll close this off. That's the basic scene. There's other videos, kind of walking through this thing and showing kind of how it was all made. Let me see if there's anything else that's like really interesting. Yeah, the daytime shorts. These I'll post. You can watch these. I've got all sorts of cool ones here. I'll just show one more here. I think this was, yeah, this is a GIF one. So this is the actual old model with the sky and the lighting. Yeah, there's lots of stuff here. Okay, finale of this is to show you one last thing I've been working on, which I'm really excited about, and I'll be streaming this kind of stuff next week. And it is called Unreal Engine Fortnite, or Unreal Engine for Fortnite, UEFN. And this will load, and this is fun. I have played video games, growing up. I've always kind of kept video games in, I guess, my mind. I kind of see what's coming out. I have Steam on my computer. I might download something and play it, but I just get too busy. I don't actually sit down and spend the time. I don't have an Xbox or PlayStation, but I do have stuff on my PC. And I have two little second cousins, and they were showing me Fortnite and on their Nintendo Switch, and they were getting me to play it, and I was terrible at it. But it was like, oh, this is cool. Okay, I get it. And then I realized that Unreal Engine has an entire editor based on Unreal Engine. So it is Unreal Engine. It's just a trimmed down, modified version of it, specifically for Fortnite. And the crazy part about that I got excited about was that Fortnite has 400 million something players. I don't know. There's some crazy number of players that are playing Fortnite at any given time. And for me, like, one of the challenges of what I just showed you is you kind of saw it, right? I'm like, hey, let me show you this game. I'll launch it on my computer. Computer's slow. It's using my GPU. It's, you can't play it on your computer because I got to package it up and ship it to you as a game. You're going to download the files, run it on your, like, nobody's going to do that. I can't let you play it on your PlayStation or your Switch. It's super inaccessible. And I do have a vision. It's long-term of what I want to create in terms of a game experience using these real-world locations. But truthfully, I probably can't do it alone. I probably need a team, probably need some funding. And it's just not practical. This is hard to get actual traction on something that is hard to distribute. So in comes Fortnite. And with Unreal Engine for Fortnite, you can actually produce a environment and world, same way I was doing in Unreal Engine, inside of Fortnite, but you can push it to the Fortnite servers and actually play it online in real Fortnite. And you can play it on your Xbox, on your PlayStation, on your PC, on your Mac, or your Switch. And once this is published, I can just give you a code to anyone who plays Fortnite, and they can actually download the map. It uses all the normal Fortnite assets, so it's not a huge download, and actually play the experience that I create directly. This camera might kill. I got a heat temperature on the FX3. Yeah, perfect freeze and timing. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We learned the limitation of the FX3 in my setup. So I'm just going to switch over to the webcam, and I'm going to finish the stream on the webcam, unfortunately. See, it should be pretty quick to set up. The computer is hot, the monitor is hot, the FX3 is hot, and that's about as far as I guess we can go on a stream. So let me just see if I can get the anchor cam running. I don't know if it's going to be possible. If not, we'll finish this without a video. Yeah, it may not work. I don't know why it's not working, but it won't. Okay, so no video. I'll finish this here. You don't want to see me anyway. But yeah, so Fortnite is like game changer. And what's really exciting about Fortnite that really blew my mind is that Fortnite is creating an economy that, to me, is like the early days of YouTube. It's like you wanted to make content, a video. What did you have to do? You had to you show your friends it on VHS originally, or send the video around, or, if you wanted to actually get something to make money, you'd have to sell it to a TV show or a TV station, and get it actually syndicated and sent out on TV. And I mean, what are the chances of you being able to make money making videos before YouTube? And it was a massively complicated process. Well, It's kind of the same with video games. Like if you want to make a video game, you've got to actually find a publisher and you produce the game. And even indie games are hard to get. Like how many indie games are getting released on Xbox and PlayStation? It's very difficult. Well, Fortnite has everything you could ever need, for a video game built into it. It's a pretty interactive game with different modes and different settings, and players playing it. Fortnite and Unreal Engine and Epic Games are trying to do essentially the same thing that YouTube did for video, for game development. So they're going to track how much time people spend playing different games, worlds that people create in Fortnite. And based on the engagement, similar to YouTube, they're going to pay out 40% of the revenue for all of basically all the revenue that's coming in for Fortnite, which is a pretty massive amount. And they're going to share it with developers, with game creators. So this is brand new, and it's a massive opportunity that I'm seeing, and I'm jumping all over it. And I'm going to create an interactive game experience in Fortnite based on real world data and based on my art. So it's going to go from photography, to actual 3D renders that are still images in Blender, to more dynamic scenes that I'm creating in Unreal Engine, to fully interactive worlds, that people can walk around and experience and enjoy. And kind of the side road or the detour to that is Fortnite, because it is going to be an easy way to massively produce these things and get it out to a huge number of people. So if you're a Fortnite player, hit me up, send me a message, please get in touch, because I can send this to you to start testing right away. And we're going to start making some really cool stuff with these worlds, because it is just a huge leap forward in being able to distribute. So I'll shut up and I'll show you this. Same scene that you saw before in Patagonia. This is my demo scene. So it's an experiment sandbox. And you can see I've got lakes, same lakes that were in the scene, brought into Unreal Engine and Fortnite. I've got all sorts of cool stuff set up around here. There's Fitzroy, the mountain range, and I've got pretty cool day-night cycle lighting going on in this scene. Kind of see it going on here, although it's a little bit overexposed right now, but you can kind of see how this lighting works in the scene. And I've created this over the last couple weeks and been learning how to create this in Fortnite. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Fortnite right now, and I'm going to we'll end the stream with an attempt for me to go through the map that I created. It's basically an end-to-end race. The goal is to start at the beginning, start the race, and get to the finish line, which is near the top of Fitzroy, in as little time as possible. And I'm hoping I can actually do it without failing on the stream. But this is kind of the version 1 prototype of, a lot of things that I've been working on coming together, and a pretty exciting for me milestone to be able to actually experience one of these worlds. While this is loading, I will say that this Patagonia world is definitely a cool sandbox and something that I've been experimenting with. But as of next week, I'm going to start to build my first real scene based on Cathedral. So you're going to see a combination of me working on, the 3D scene is already done. You saw that on Super Rare. So I'll show you this again just to remind while this loads. Scobel Cathedral. So I've already done the 3D scene and minted the photo or the render. So this is Cathedral right here. Taking a second to load. This is Cathedral. I'm currently working on a meme card, which is a new version of the 6529 meme cards that I'm continuing that story. So I'll give you a little sneak preview of that. This is what I've been working on in the morning in the streams. So if we go into output and we look at the meme card, you're going to see where it's currently at. So I think this is not the latest version. This is not quite the latest version. This would be, yeah, this is It's not edited in Lightroom, but this is the current work in progress of the meme card. So same background, and I won't give it away, but there's a whole story being told here, and it's going to have the same, animation and conversion as Open Road. But that's being worked on. And then the third thing will be creating the Fortnite experience in 3D. So that's what I'll be doing next week on the stream. Okay, Fortnite. We'll bring the stream up here. I'm going to give this a shot. I don't know how well it's going to work. But let me try this in full screen. And I'll just confirm that it's streaming. And when it's ready to rock, I will start the stream. Let's just see how the sound looks. Let me bring that up a little bit. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully the sound is okay. But I want to try this in full screen here. Go full screen. I'll go into settings and change this to full. Cool. And then I'm going to go back to here, change that to this. This is my Twitch followers. I'm just going to turn off the webcam because it's not working. I'll turn off this follower girl. If you're on Twitch, please follow. I'm 3 away from 20, which seems like ridiculous, but it takes a while to build a Twitch audience, and there's milestones that I've set. So first is 20 followers. So if you have a Twitch account, please just go hit the follow or subscribe or whatever it is on Twitch. But let's give this a try. I'm just going to see if this is currently working. It's in full screen. I'm going to apply this. I'm just going to check my stream here. We're on YouTube. I don't see it yet. No, full screen didn't work. Just double checking. I'm still here. Just double checking to see if I can get the stream to come up. I guess I can't. Oh, maybe we got it. Give it a second. This stream's a little bit behind here on YouTube. By the time you hear this, you'll probably see it if it's working. Come on. Yeah, the YouTube stream is probably 25 seconds behind. That's why. I think it's going to work. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to end the game and restart it, and I'll do a run through. Yeah, okay. Looks like the stream is working. Oh, I realized that it's actually cutting off, so give me 2 seconds to fix that. I will get really much better at this, I promise. I just not used to it yet. Okay. I think now I'm pretty confident that should look good with full screen. It'll be widescreen, but we'll be ready to go. Okay, so trusting the stream's working. This is the start, and you can see it starts at night with like kind of a full sunset. Yeah, just watching my stream at the same time. Start out over here. Basically get in one of these cars, and we're starting our race. So coming up through here, across this road. Oh my god, I'm so bad at this game. I'm just looking down at my stream here to also see if it's running. I think it's good. Hopefully the sound isn't too bad. Little sunrise going on here. I can hit this turbo boost, although if I do too much, I will definitely fall off the track. And again, Fortnite's got all sorts of different modes. I have to be careful with complexity because I'm not a Fortnite player. I don't know exactly, all the intricacies of the game. So I'm starting with something very simple, which will be a time trial. There's a game mode in Fortnite called Only Up, where it's race for people to climb as fast as they can. If you fall, it basically resets. This is kind of inspired by that, but really it's like one of these end-to-end epic races, and you'll see how it goes. It uses multiple vehicles, and the goal will be to see who can basically do this in the shortest amount of time. And if you get good at it, you can just hammer the turbo because it's unlimited, and you can basically get through this section hopefully. And then we're gonna hit hit the brakes, jump out, and we got now the motorcycles. There we go. Same thing with the motorcycle. If you know what you're doing, you can just hammer the turbo. I will probably crash this thing. I kind of know I'll crash it. Oh, we got a thin track here. Sorry I don't have the webcam. The camera got overheated, but we'll have that fixed. But here we go. Coming around this side. The lighting is really messed up right now. I hate to say it. It's the night lighting. Is not anything what I had it set up for before, but whatever. We'll see the improvement the next time I stream. Hard turn here. Always miss this turn. Fix it. Through this side. Gonna get a little fog. Hard turn, which again I missed. Not only did I miss it, I think I missed the last checkpoint. Yeah, so let me go back. Alright. Hit this checkpoint here. Jump off. Man, I'm really upset about the lighting. I ran an update on this, and it's definitely, I messed something up. But that's alright. You get the idea. Through here. Next time I stream this, there's videos on Twitch of it. You can go back and look. We had a really, really awesome day-night cycle with like some fog and basically like moonlight. This is it's overexposed on the stream, but that's all good. Okay, second last part here. We're gonna get on with these guys, and then we're going through this checkpoint. And now this is climbing up one of the ridges that actually leads. This would be a glacier normally, which I'm working on, but this is kind of a glacier area, and this ridge is, you know, a real ridge that. Bad at this. Oh, now we got some night mode. Now we got some night mode, which is now too dark. But basically, I hit this scene. Oh man, yeah, this is sort of the night lighting right here. Like right at this moment is what I've been kind of looking for. Maybe a little bit darker than this, but something with some moonlight, but also a little bit difficult to see. And the day-night cycle happens over 5 minutes. The goal is to make it basically the length of a race. So at different points of the race, you're gonna have. Oh shit! Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Monetize my 4 viewers. Okay, cool. Made it up. Through here, and then off, and then we've got a running section. Yeah, the lighting here is this is the lighting that I've really been working on. Just something happened there with the day-night cycle to make it bright, but it's all good. Shout out to my nephew Austin for helping me with this section. He lit this and sort of reorganized all these little checkpoints. He's been actually in Unreal Engine helping me out with this, which has been super cool because someone to bounce ideas off of and test it. And, yeah, but there you go. And then the last part, which is some platforms that I actually modeled myself. There's a little glitch here with the lighting, but overall these things are kind of cool. So basically this is a climbing section of the course. There are shortcuts. I am very, very bad at this, but fingers crossed, with some luck, I'll be able to make it to the final checkpoint. There we go. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm annoyed with the lighting. It's overexposed, and it's a skylight issue. That's stupid. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm gonna concentrate. Not gonna worry about the light. Here to here, and here, here. This is a big one. This one. This one. 2 more, Matt. Don't screw it up. Here. Can't believe I've actually made it. There we go. Run up this thing. And the finish line. And that's it. So that's where the game is for Fortnite. Lots of little things I'm working on, but I'll be streaming this combination of working on the 3D scene and the meme card on every morning at 5 a.m. on Twitch. And then I'll be doing this, which is my interactions in Fortnite and bringing the cathedral scene into Fortnite every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. My phone's about to die. It's been a long stream, but hopefully this was successful. I'll go take a look at the video, and I'll be back doing this multi-stream next week, hopefully 4 o'clock Eastern. Peace.